What's up, creeps, and welcome back. Now, this is Creepy Confidential After Dark, but you can see it's not really after dark yet. Summertime is finally here, so our sunshine is here a little bit longer. But you are indeed here for a Creepy Confidential After Dark. My name's Noelle. I am the weirdo Wisconsinite of Creepy Confidential. Just a quick kind of announcement to make sure everybody knows the Patreon is live and it has lots of really cool exclusive content. The website, of course, creepyconfidential.com. If you're wanting to check out more additional creepy content, please head over there and check it out. But still today, we have a returning guest. So I am very excited to have them back. So Leslie and Stephen Shaw are back. I don't know if you guys remember from January of last year, and they are the authors of this wonderful, very interesting book, who they are and what they are up to. Now, we're not necessarily here to do the book tour conversation again, but they say they have some additional theories that they'd like to discuss, and we just want to have a quick chat. So without further ado, on to the show. Sup, creeps, and welcome to Creepy Confidential. Is Mothman really a supernatural force predicting impending doom? Did Apollo 11 really land on the moon in 1969? Did you find out if that was a cult that was living just 2 doors down that you waved to every single day when you got your mail? If these are the things you ponder when you should be sleeping, then I would like to welcome you to Creepy Confidential. I'm your host, Noelle, your resident weirdo Wisconsinite. I open case files on my favorite cryptids, cults, conspiracies, and other worldly creepy, with new cases, live broadcasts, and local lore. Some stories have been lost with time. Others are perhaps still happening today in your local communities, right up under your very creepy noses. So get ready, creeps. It's Creepy Confidential. And welcome. Hi there, everybody. Leslie and Stephen Shaw, welcome back to the show. Nice to have you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for having us back on, and for being our guest on our show too.
Absolutely. I was just going to mention that. So if you're catching this or catching it on the replay, I have put all of the information as usual down underneath, but I also put the link of their recent show that they had me on. So I feel like we're kind of going back and forth.
That's
so
right. Let's
you guys
share the love, you know.
I know, right? Now, one of the things you mentioned is you had some additional things you wanted to talk about, maybe some changing theories or additional theories. I just feel let's just jump right in. I was very curious as to what you guys are working on.
Well, well, actually, we have a lot of stuff that really kind of underlines what we've been talking about. You know, we really haven't changed our theory. But
Okay.
we've had support.
But added to it
We've
a
had
lot. Yeah.
supportive. You know, they said you got to make the theory fit the facts, not the facts fit the theory. So anyway,
Yeah, that's our
Sherlock Holmes.
policy.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Mm-hmm.
this recent stuff with the missing scientists and also the recent discoveries about the Sumerian King's List and the actual discovery back in 1922 of what you would call non-human remains.
And the push for
Okay.
disclosure
Mhm.
that's been going on, and Luis Elizondo's documentary that's out. We definitely want to recommend that to everyone. It's called The Age of Disclosure.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just right there, if anyone asks you, is the UFO phenomenon real? refer them to that documentary, because by
Yeah.
the end of it, they'll be convinced that it is really happening.
There'll be one coming out this.
That's quite a statement. If by like one documentary you're like, I'm sold, you know, that's
It's just very well done.
There's one coming out by Jeremy Corbell this May 17th.
Yeah, we're waiting for that one
Yeah,
now.
which also underlines the same thing, that we definitely have been investigating. The United States government has been investigating the UFO phenomena for a long time, and there's actually supportive documentation that shows it definitively. But exciting news is that, whether you call it exciting or not, but we've known, the British Museum of Archaeology has known since at least 1922, when they were doing the excavation of the city of Ur, which is now in today Iraq. Okay, that was the city of the Sumerian, you know,
ancient Sumerians,
ancient, like the capital city. So they were excavating the cemetery, and they found remains in this tomb of the king named Meskiag Gashar. Okay, I remember. Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking it. I'm glad you said it.
Meskiag Gashar. Okay. So, anyways, this king ruled for 324 years. Okay. All right. So that's, of course, by human standards, that's ridiculous. So a lot of things they found that they just basically, you know, archaeology and paleontology, when something doesn't fit the going standard as far as what is understood as being real, they put it aside as an oddity. This has been going on for like over a century. Okay. So anyways, the remains they found, the skull, they found an intact skeleton that was 8 feet tall to start with. The skull was not deformed, but it was basically the cone shape, you know, like you see the ones that you think that are head bound.
Elongated. Skull,
The skull cavity was 1900 cc's. Okay. 1900 cc's is 25% bigger capacity than a large human Homo sapiens sapien.
So there's a lot of anomalies with this mummy, and they, you know, they're going to be DNA testing it soon.
Well, okay. No, that's not happening.
Right? No.
Okay, what they did? But what they did find was that the ratio of the femur to the tibia is completely off. The tibia was much longer than any human, so it's not let's say a deformed human, right? Okay, because that does not happen genetically. They had 13 ribs. It had an extra lumbar vertebrae, and you're looking at something that is absolute, and the bone density was way off, much higher bone density of this being. This being was at least 8 feet tall, ruled for 324 years. Also, it was buried with a lot of, you know, ceremonial stuff. This body was buried. The ceremonial knives and daggers were made from elements that they did not have. It was made with tungsten, with chromium, stuff they could not smelt in a Bronze Age. And this guy ruled back around about 5,000 years ago. Okay. So these are things, but they put it away in the British Museum, and then Iraq got the stuff back about 30 years later, because this is our property, right? They got it back and they put it away in their museum. Again, has not been studied. There have been papers written, but they've never been published. There's been paleological examinations, forensic examinations, never been published. And this is not the only one they found. They found other kings too.
Queen Puabe too. She was also a first dynasty queen of Ur, and she had a mal-shaped head too, a malformed head too. And you know, Sitchin was pushing for decades to get them to DNA test it, and they kept not doing it. But hopefully now the pressure will mount, you know, enough to get some.
So this may be kind of like because I'm still new to all of these types of findings, but I still have that science part of my brain because I grew up, you know, with animal medical background. And I find, you know, when people talk about this, well, we found these potential humans or humanoids from another time period that they're longer here or longer here. But even today we have, I'm going to use the word diseases, but that's not what I'm looking for. Or if they're a giant person.
Yes, it's drastically different with gigantism. people who suffer from gigantism, like Andre the Giant, for instance,
Right.
they get large calcification deposits on their skeletons. It's
Mhm.
part of the progression of the disease.
The acromegaly part.
Yeah, but this is not the same kind of thing. This is
Yeah.
like a normally
Right.
healthy
They don't
8-foot tall
get they don't
creature.
get they don't get skull cavities that are 300 to 400 cc's bigger. They don't get changes
Right.
in the ratio
Right.
between the femur and the
That's
tibia.
where
They
my
don't do that.
brain, but it's just because we call it those things, we call it dwarfism or
Right. Sure.
gigantism.
Right.
That's just what we call it. These could have been things that we didn't know existed because
That's
it
what we think, is
just,
that they're
like
an
it,
unknown,
or like
so far
I'll say
unknown to
diseases.
science.
Right,
first.
but it made them unknown to science. But then where did it go? How come it never existed after this finding? You find these very few people just now, and I'm like, well, then how come it never existed after this?
It still
But-
exists.
We think that mostly that they
Still
retreated
exists.
underground, and if Sitchin's theories are correct, they could have returned home to their planet Nibiru. Supposedly,
Mhm.
after the Great Flood, that destroyed all their works on this planet, a lot of
Yeah.
them got discouraged and went back home. So, and we
I think we talked
that-
about that last time. It's like one of those
yeah, we think the rest of them
cataclysmic
retreated
events.
underground.
Mhm.
Well, it's their actions. Their actions always speak louder than words. If you've ever read the book Forbidden Archaeology, which is a great text by Michael Cremo and a couple others.
Yeah, if you like
it
science, you'll love that.
It shows the
Yeah.
systematic suppression of anomalous findings that are real anomalous findings.
Yeah.
Like this king was buried with a Proto-Sumerian language cuneiform that didn't exist after, but it has some crossover. But it was a language that didn't exist. But he wasn't the only one that was found. There were others that were found
Yeah.
too. But these have all been systematically put away, and they're not being disclosed. I mean, we can't even disclose that there were giants, but there were giants that walked among us, and
Yeah.
it's said
Right.
in the Bible, it's said in the Mahabharata, it's
Took
said
my-
in the
that's what I was going to say. I'm like,
Zoroastrian.
it's in a big text.
Yeah,
And we have photographs
yeah.
of their skeletons when they were discovered, but
Right.
but the actual evidence itself was everywhere too.
Mhm.
It's a very strange phenomenon that wherever these giant skeletons have been found, these men in black people show up in sedans and confiscate them, or
Right.
the Smithsonian shows up,
Some military-
and
military
says,
operation,
"Oh, we're
yeah.
taking it all away for study," and then it just vanishes. It disappears from history.
I know.
So,
It's like
Or
we're
they
so
say they're the
scared about like
Smithsonian.
anything else besides Homo sapiens sapien. It's just like, really, okay, what's the big deal that there was another species here too, or that was obviously we're not commonly 8 foot tall. I mean, humans can reach 8 foot up to 8'11",
Right,
but
but
that's
it's
with
super rare.
gigantism.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
and they don't live very long either too. They
No,
don't
they
have
die
have
about
shortened lifespans.
35,
So they're not
40
going to be
years old.
king. They're not going to be king because they're not going to be healthy, and they're not going to live long. So, but
Mhm.
the pre-flood list of the Sumerian kings list, the pre-flood list has ridiculous lengths of time these people lived. The post Sumerian kings list have more in the hundreds of years, but
Yeah.
the pre-flood had in thousands of years, and we're finding that things are not adding up. I mean, we've had since at least 1922, we've known that there was something that is as a hominid that was not human that walked
Right.
amongst us about 5,000 years and further, and we've known that.
And
but
the
it's-
skull is different, and it has no.
Yeah.
We have something called the sagittal suture.
that's right, no sagittal suture.
that,
Right.
that runs
Yep.
down the middle of across the middle of our
Mhm.
skulls, and these skulls don't have it.
That's right,
So that's another bizarre ism that.
right.
And the Peruvian skulls, elongated skulls, also don't have the sagittal
Mhm.
suture. And strangely enough, they were able to get mitochondrial DNA out of them, but not nuclear DNA. So they could just look at the
Yeah.
mother's side of the DNA.
Right.
And bizarrely, these are Peruvian skulls, but showing Scottish DNA, like from thousands
makes
of
you
years
wonder.
ago. So that's
Yeah,
really bizarre.
like how is
too,
that? How is that possible? I mean, anything's
Right.
possible.
Good
People moved around the
question,
world from the
how is
start
it
of,
possible?
but but it's
Well,
that
the-
particular thing doesn't
it's
make
possible in the Anunnaki scenario, right?
sense. Mhm. Yeah, and it's
Well, yeah. I mean,
Just
If you have no problem flying around, If you have no problem flying, then it's easy.
Yeah, the
you know?
Anunnaki were supposed to
Right.
have ships so they could fly through the skies with them, you know,
Right.
and they had a foothold in the New World. That's more. Stephen, pull that
Oh
down.
yeah, sure. I
That's
don't know
another
which
thing we
service.
wanted to let you
There you
know
go.
about is
Your audience.
since we talked last, there have been several discoveries that have gone to backing up Sitchin and his theories. One of them is that they're pulling all these UFO covered, alien covered, Egyptian covered artifacts with Sumerian and Egyptian hieroglyphics. They're pulling hundreds of these artifacts out of central Mexico. And Sitchin, for many decades, claimed that the Anunnaki had a foothold in the New World, and they're the ones responsible for building these megalithic cities and structures in Peru. So that was one big discovery. Another is the ancient
Peru and Egyptian
kingdom. Yeah,
that's what I was
exactly.
saying. It's like
Connection
they're
from
literally
too, you know,
on the opposite side of the world. I mean,
right. So
by conventional means, conventional knowledge, like growing up, going to school and learning about history, that didn't happen, right? But anyways, we have one artifact.
Yeah, we got one. We bought one of the artifacts. If you can see it there, you see these little gray alien faces on this thing?
Yeah.
And the weird little spaceship guy with the, and then on the back side of this thing is a spaceship with like a sperm tail on it. And this piece is like
9,000 years old.
Dated to 9,000 years old.
And the way they dated it is because of the amount of manganese patina that's on it, which only forms over a long, long period of time. It's something you cannot fake. And it's made out of a type of resin that we can't, this type of here, this isn't
we
really,
don't know how to make it.
We don't know how to make
it's
this.
Just a lost
it's out of
recipe,
a really strange resin that doesn't exist. So they're pulling artifacts out, from that are dating with carbon inside them. They're dating with advanced methods up to 38,000 years old. And the further back you go with these artifacts, the better they get. Okay. And, somebody to go down 12, 14, 16 feet into the earth to find these artifacts in caves and different chambers. And it's just amazing that what Sitchin was saying is that they did, the Anunnaki had a presence in the New World.
Yep.
Thousands and thousands of years ago, before we ever thought that it was possible.
And then there's also the discovery of the giant infrastructure underneath the Giza Plateau, underneath the pyramids of the Great Pyramids.
I recently started reading about that, and that's pretty wild. It's so, like, I don't know. It reminds me of are you talking about like underneath it? It has like the platforms and everything like that.
It's enormous.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I was thinking of the same thing.
It's 10 times bigger in volume than the pyramids themselves. And we're talking about the most colossal thing in the world, pretty much, and it's the structure underneath of it is 10 times larger. Again, pointing to our, underworld theory being.
It's more than the structure is more than half a mile beneath. More than half a mile beneath the surface. Yeah.
So this stuff being found is backing up our theories a lot, and backing up Sitchin's theories for that matter too.
Yeah.
And Sitchin took a lot of heat after he died. A lot of people tried to debunk his work and say he was full of it. And it's usually these British museum guys that they don't want to hear don't believe him and wouldn't. And he had this feud going, trying to get them to test Queen Puabi, and they wouldn't do it. So, and then after his death, they were bad mouthing him without him still alive to defend himself anymore. So we're defending him.
Yeah.
His work is not all bunk. It's not all perfect, but it hasn't been debunked.
The truth shall set you free.
Yeah. It's just wild though that that's what I have a hard time. I'm a very analytical person, and I am very much so like, if A plus B doesn't equal C, then it's not true. And so I have a hard time with wrapping my brain around it. But when you are unearthing something you can't deny it. It's not like someone created it in a lab, under the pyramids. Someone hasn't been under there working and building that for the last 5 years, trying to make it look like something.
Yeah.
So it's, to me, kind of opens up my eyes a little more that clearly there's something else there's more information, there's more, more to the story. Now that little
Yeah.
artifact you
And in
had, and
addition
for how
to,
old,
I'm sorry, dear.
real quick, I
What'd
was
you say?
curious about that artifact that you had was, like, how did you, because most of the time when something like that old, it goes into a museum. So how did you happen to come across the
Right.
way to
I'll,
get this?
I'll tell you why.
I am just being devil's
Okay, we
advocate.
got
Please do not think I am trying to say it. Just curious.
No,
No.
it's
Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Okay, at Contact in the Desert for the last couple of times, Joshua Sisler and Mike Forrest have been there, and they have Mike Forrest is alien artifacts, and Joshua Sisler is
alien carvings.
alien carvings, and then ancient Atslan. They both have a couple books out. The Mexican government has been for years been saying that these are tourist attraction things.
They're not real.
They're not
or-
categorized. They refuse to
Oh.
categorize them as being ancient artifacts. So while they can still get them, they're able to still get them. That's
Yeah.
why they're able to reluctantly sell them. But these don't go cheap. Okay.
No, but
Oh,
they sell
I
them
bet.
at
No,
the
no.
Contact in the Desert, so
Yeah.
they can
Mhm.
further fund their research. This research they're doing into
Mhm.
them is very expensive.
Yeah, very
Oh, yeah.
expensive.
The science
Even
and
some of
stuff.
just the, I'll say, antique items, I'm saying modern day, like 19th century antique items are extremely expensive for, an old warmer that's made out of something. So
Right.
I would be shocked if it wasn't for
Yeah.
for an artifact like the one that you guys have. I think it's crazy that the government is just letting these things just leave without.
They're just turning
No,
a blind
really
eye
don't believe.
to all
Yeah,
these
they're like-
incredibly valuable artifacts just wandering out of the country because
Take
they
it
don't
away.
care.
It's not real, like,
Oh, yeah. But
crazy.
if you look at their scientific research into them, and the quality of the piece itself, the line quality, it isn't hand done. It's
Nope.
it's definitely, and the way they're carbon testing them, they're using various methods of age testing them, and one of the methods, of course, is carbon dating, and the glue that some of the pieces have inlaid stones, and the glue that sticks them in there is a plant-based glue. So they were able to carbon date them, and that's how we know.
Which is convenient, which is good. It's conveniently better because then you can do that.
Yeah, the
That's
funerary
wild.
jar, they found one of the most recent ones that was down really, really low.
Had some
they
DNA in
they
it,
had a
yeah.
hard time getting some of them out because the deeper you go, the more chance of a cave-in.
Yeah.
Because 16 feet of alluvial dirt and rocks above your head, it becomes a little
Right.
tricky. But they found this funerary jar that it must have been like a funerary jar for maybe like organs, like whatever organs. They put them in there, and it was
Right.
all just basically
Like the
charcoalized,
Nobel
Very
right?
or whatever.
Egyptian practice.
And
I
so they
might point
tested,
out,
sent it to
yeah.
the, I forget
Yeah.
the name of the lab.
Same
They sent
house.
them like to one of the top labs in the country, like one of the top labs in the world, and they tested it multiple ways, and they found that the remnants inside the carbonized remnants in there were testing it consistently at 38,000 years old. And that is in line with the depths they went, as far as the soil depth that they went. That was about 35 to 40,000 years old, as far as like just the regular testing. As far as, okay, we go down this far, this is how old it's probably going to be. But they
Right.
tested it further with what's called terrestrial cosmogenic nucleotides, which tests things like the argon degrading through exposure to the atmosphere, and there's various ways that they can be tested beyond carbon dating. So there's ways that you can test the actual molecular structure, and like I say,
Wasn't there a time that at one point I thought I remember reading it somewhere, is that carbon dating wasn't necessarily as accurate as we thought it was?
ending?
There are a few things that drastically affect it, and one is radiation.
Right.
I've heard of things being carbon dated that were near nuclear test sites that are actually carbon dating into the future.
Yeah,
This was
surface.
made in the future. Yeah. So no.
Yeah, surface exposure. Yes, you will get weird anomalies.
But
Yeah,
most
sure.
of the time, no. And because they're using multiple ways of dating, they're just confirming their methods. This one confirms the date, and this one confirms.
Right,
the
they
date.
cross check it.
Like the
That's
manganese.
wild.
The manganese patina that's on it, the purpling stuff.
Yeah, it takes
that can't-
thousands of
can't be
years for
faked.
this stuff to build up. you look really close at it, you can see little crystals. You know how long it takes crystals to grow on rocks and stuff. It's like a geologic procedure.
It's a
practically.
marker. It's a
Right.
marker that you can't. Yeah.
And so there's those things about backing up Sitchin. But one of the things the Sitchin was talking about in the tablets is talking about Enki's kingdom. It's called the place of the waters in Africa. And sure enough, LIDAR from space,
Yeah,
they
SARS.
have found it at the place where a lot of rivers flow into a huge bay. It's a
Mozambique Bay, Maputo.
it's a very apt name, the place of the waters. Anyway, they found this enormous kingdom. It has like an exterior wall all the way around it. It's so big it spreads into South Africa and Mozambique, and it has mines there with detritus at the bottom of them that are carbon dating to 200,000 years old.
And this is the time period when Enki was supposed to be involved with uplifting humanity, not because he wanted to do it just for jollies or just being a nice guy. They needed a workforce.
They wanted a workforce.
Yeah, and we were convenient. Right. Homo sapien was convenient to be uplifted to Homo sapien sapien. We were just smart enough and we were dexterous enough to make really good, workers.
Yeah, that's what we think happens.
Yeah, so this city complex has thousands of miles of roads, and it's much bigger than Greater Los Angeles.
It's huge.
It's huge, and it's people don't know who built it because nobody was around 220,000 years ago.
Yeah, we didn't. We didn't start mining for much until hundreds of thousands of years, like 100,000 years later. If then,
not to that level, no.
But it actually predates modern man.
Yeah,
200,000 years ago, we think is pre Homo sapiens sapiens, still Homo sapien. So
how many times did we crawl out of the mud?
That did it, Yeah.
Sometimes when I think about the history that we learned that 2 + 2 = 5. When in reality, the real history is 2 + 2 does equal 4. But we were taught that 2 + 2 = 5. And it's hard to pull your mind away from that.
Yeah.
But when the facts don't match up, but the real facts start to match up, and then you find all the suppression. Why are they so worried about this?
Yeah, why are they suppressing?
Why are they so scared? It's like, but they don't want the truth to come out.
I was just going to say, I'm really like that because there's truth to it. They get nervous when all the big they, capital T they.
Our government discovered these aliens living underground, we think in the early 40s. There was a UFO crash in Missouri in 1941. And the government pounced on it and took all the evidence to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And it didn't, wasn't leaked to the media, so they didn't have the same media circus as Roswell turned into. But we know that at least by then, by 1941, they were aware of these beings, these creatures. And then Admiral Byrd's contact with them in Antarctica, we think that really did happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the government is has such a huge presence down there, and a big no-fly zone, and whistleblowers are coming out of Antarctica, having seen a bunch of weird stuff down there. And
I always felt that they were
these people underground,
Yeah, I always felt that they were protecting that area in my mind, because humans kind of ruin everything. We're kind of like termites. I feel like if we were allowed to go there in mass, modern day man, at least is termites, that they would destroy whatever is good there, let alone now that we know that there's things that are probably hanging out near there, down there, under there. I can't imagine if there is creatures there.
That's why we're there, otherwise it's such a inhospitable place.
It's the most inhospitable place.
Yeah.
It's got the biggest desert in the world too. People don't realize that's the biggest desert. It's not the Sahara.
Yeah,
it's the Antarctic.
It's so hostile. It's like next to being on another planet. It's kind of like being that. It's crazy that people still go there for science reasons. I'm like, we know what's why are you going there to say yes on purpose? No, thank you.
Ostensibly, it's scientific research. Ostensibly.
But we have a big base down there. Murdo's a big base.
It's the biggest base. We have the biggest base.
Yeah, we think that they're hiding our theory is that the aliens aren't really aliens.
Yeah.
They're
They're not.
a breakaway branch of humanity.
I
The
remember
only
seeing that.
aliens involved, we think, are the Anunnaki, who use their DNA to uplift us. So, in a way, every single human on the planet is an alien. We're part alien.
Somewhat. Yeah.
I
That's
agree
how we
with
think
that.
aliens are involved.
Homo sapiens sapien have, some of us have up to 2 to 3% Neanderthal genetics in us, and some of us even have Denisovan. So that shows right there that there was some type of a blending going on, because
Genetic engineering.
Neanderthals were heavier boned than we were, and they had larger brain cases in the aft brain by about 100 cc's. So they had about a 1600 cc brain, where these either Anunnaki or whatever they were, okay, with much heavier bone density, had 1900. So like I said, when you have 25% larger brain, that means that gives a lot more room for other abilities or potential abilities.
Right.
So we're looking at something that just it's been studied, and the knowledge is there. It's just it hasn't been released. That's the frustrating thing about this, which kind of leads us into the missing scientists.
We did a show on them like 8 days ago. We dropped a new
Good
show
segue.
on them, and it was called 8 Dead, 4 Missing. And since then, we've had to up that number. In just the 8 days, there's been like 5 more people discovered, that 5 more scientists or whatever missing,
3 or 4, yeah.
Is that what you just?
And
you
some
just
of them aren't
shared
scientists, but they have connections.
What was that? Sorry.
Yeah. You just shared something on your Instagram page. Believe it, was that what I was reading? Where you could scroll and see what all the specialities of each person was? Was that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Leslie did that.
I did a post on it for the show.
Because I want to make sure who's listening, whoever's listening has a reason, kind of when you're looking through what each person is capable of and what their specialty is, it really made you scratch your head, well, not really scratch my head, more like, oh yeah, it makes sense why they're gone. Because every single thing lines up with what potentially somebody is trying to hide, and keep suppressed.
If they're not a UFO insider, if they're not a scientist, they could be a UFO insider somehow, like
David Wilcock.
Yeah, like and the Pritchards. They one of them was in the wife was in finance, and the husband was in security, and they ended up dead at Wright-Patterson. They had connections to McCasland.
All three of them. Forget this. Husband and wife, the Pritchards, right? He was 34. She was 33. 3 children. Okay. He worked in security in the biomedical and in the research department. Okay. He was actually in the same department where McCasland had been the head of. Okay. So he was there. She was in direct financing for things. And then Gustus was 25 years old, and she also worked at Wright-Patterson in a human resource and development office. They all knew each other. So this is what the story goes. And this happened October 25th last year.
So weird.
Supposedly, either he did one of two things. And this, all the research is done. It ended on November the 3rd. That's how much investigation they did. So apparently he supposedly went over about 2:00 in the morning and shot Gustus in the head. Okay. Now, they don't know. One report says he killed his wife first and then killed her second. They don't even know that. All they know is that he killed Gustus. Sometime at home, he strangled his wife. Okay. He strangled her, didn't shoot her, strangled her, put her into the trunk of the car, drove to the police station, opened the trunk of the police station, showed the police officer, waved to the camera, put a gun to his head.
And shot and killed himself.
Very nice and neat, like a little present with a bow.
Yeah, they don't even have to investigate what's to investigate.
They have the murder weapon.
Like
they
he
have
had been
the murderer.
Activated.
They have
in my
absolutely
mind,
no motive.
It's almost like he had been activated. I mean,
or
they
said, somehow. Listen, if you don't kill, right? If you don't kill yourself, we're going to kill your kids.
Right.
Okay.
That's what he had. Right. They had on him. Maybe
they had 3 children.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would make somebody.
They're not. Yeah, of course. Parents will protect their children. So listen, you either do this or your kids are dead.
And sure, it could have been just he was having an affair with Gustus.
But you don't do that. You don't strangle your wife.
And this is just some sordid, thing that we see on true crime shows. But
Right.
and you would think so, except that it's one of 15, people that this is happening to.
Mhm.
Either they're dead by gunshot. Frequently the dead ones are dead by gunshot. How convenient. And
If you're going to go
You
and kill,
know?
let's say, your girlfriend, right? You shoot her, then you go home, and then you go and strangle your wife. What motivation in God's green earth is there for you
Right.
to take your wife into the trunk and then take it to the police station, wave to the camera, and then shoot yourself? Wouldn't it be
People
better
are
to
crazy,
have it
though.
seem like it was? Uh,
yeah, I mean, and I would say maybe it was just craziness, except
Yeah.
for the 14 other dead people or missing people.
Right.
Now.
Yeah.
It's just
But him as
it's
an
just too
instance.
many coincidences. It's too many disappearances.
Right.
When you're in the military to that level, you are tested for drugs. Okay, you're tested, and if you're
Yeah.
crazy in security, you can't hide it. I did 6 years in the military. I know. Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
they
They tested
test
me
your
all the
butt.
time in the
Okay,
Navy.
especially these days,
All the
and
time.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was. I was in the Navy 6 years. Yeah, of course.
So it wasn't a drug thing, probably, and
Even if it was, the behavior pattern
Yeah.
was just, he was thinking this
So
thing
odd.
through. He was thinking it through. Said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we want you to do. You're going to put your wife in the trunk. Go there, shoot yourself
Yeah.
in front of the camera, so that they know that you did the killing.
so
No
no
one can question it.
investigation
No
is
investigation.
necessary.
Yep. Open and close.
Exactly.
can't
They
question
just it's just in this nice, neat little bow.
I said it's a package with a bow.
Yeah.
Just here it is.
And
That's so
the
wild.
woman, the people disappearing are it's so odd
Yeah,
how
I'll have to-
they're disappearing too. Just poof, gone.
Monica Reza, who invented a new alloy that to be used that was much better than titanium
She
for
was
rockets.
a rocket engineer, metallurgist, specializing.
Mondaloy is called. She
Badass.
patented it, for
Yeah.
So, and she was hiking on the trail in Los Angeles County, and her friends were just like 30 feet in front of her. She had just waved at them, and next thing you know, they turn around and
Poof.
she's gone.
Just gone.
All they find was a hat. All they found was her hat and something else, and the
And
dogs.
some chapstick.
Yeah, they brought the dogs in, and her trail stopped right at her hat. At her hat, they found the hat, and then the trail just stopped. As far as like the scent trail
Wow.
was, the dog lost the scent.
Almost like she was pulled through a portal or something.
Yeah, like she was like,
Well, I was
up.
thinking it. I'm glad that was it. Yeah, like literally just off the
Yeah.
trail.
Yep,
whoosh, gone. We know
Yep.
that they can open portals.
yep. They've
We know it
proven
from
that.
personal experience.
I know
Steve's,
it.
Steve saw him open a portal into our living room, and
When I was 18, yeah.
I'd be like, not in the house.
Mhm.
Not in the house, okay? No portals in the house. Go outside. I'll meet you.
That was 1979. So
It's
Yeah, really.
crazy
go to
though.
the safe room.
See outside.
Yeah.
I'll grab a
Yeah,
mat.
not in here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to clean up, and that's just a mess.
Yeah.
It's crazy though
So
how
that's
these
it's so
people that
much
either
exciting stuff for us.
What was that? No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's crazy how these people that either know something, they say they saw aliens. Well, magically they
Right.
they've been diagnosed with dementia, so we can discredit them. Or somebody like these people that are highly skilled, they go to a job, they don't just wake up one day and they decide they're gonna fall off the side of a mountain on purpose. And
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. Even the kid that built the biodiesel machine or the gasoline machine, I don't know what happened to him. It was a big deal, and all of a sudden it was gone from the news. And I'm like, protect that person, because I have a feeling he's
Right.
about to disappear. He's a kid.
Yeah,
And he was
when
building gas
McCaskill
out of garbage.
disappeared, I predicted that there's going to be a lot more found, and
she
I was
did.
right.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me, the program, they call it the legacy program, is kind of entrenched in our government, trying to keep the UFO lid on the UFO secret. They're the ones.
Yeah.
They're kind of our enemy, right? They're the ones
Mhm.
that are murdering witnesses.
We think, we suspect.
And they're the ones that are at least trying to discredit people or
Yeah.
Blackmail, discredit, intimidate.
intimidate.
Whichever way you wanna call
Yeah,
it.
I mean the treatment of whistleblowers in like the military, they were vicious to them. They'd if you were a pilot, suddenly you'd be grounded if you reported a UFO, and
Because you were nuts.
and their
Even in the airlines,
careers
even in the
destroyed,
airlines, it's
yeah.
still very much discouraged. Even the airline pilots are being discouraged from reporting anything
So
like
the,
a UFO.
so the government has been this active battler against the ufology community,
Mhm.
and believe me, this is a formidable enemy. They are powerful.
Well, they have all the resources.
And anytime we get too much of a thorn in their side, they could kick up on our door, kill us, and make up any story they wanted.
Get this, okay. One of the people that disappeared. By the way, these two women that disappeared. Okay, there's Melissa Casillas and there is Monica Reza. Okay,
Monica's the one that disappeared on that trail,
right? And then Melissa Casillas disappeared from the side of the road.
She was just walking down the highway. There's a like a door cam or a business cam.
It was a business cam,
and then the next business cam, there was nobody. She just somehow in this 40 feet
walking down the highway.
Now she left. Right. She was supposed to drive into work, but then she decided to work from home. But regardless, she left she had two phones. She had her regular phone and her work phone, right? iPhones, right? Both of them, get this, and I've read this twice now, that both her phones were set back to factory original reset. They've been wiped and set back to factory original reset. Both her phones. Why would you take the time to do that? Or why would you do that unless you're trying to hide evidence or you're trying to make yourself disappear? And like they didn't take their phones with them. McCaslin apparently took a gun with him. He didn't take his glasses that he went everywhere with so he could see.
His prescription glasses that he was always seen with on his face.
People always take their phones with them, because especially you're going in the wilderness, you take your phone in case you get injured.
Well, that's our everything now. I mean, it used to be you had a map, and then you maybe had a wallet that had like your ID, or your credit card. Now everything is in this little black box. It's crazy.
Right. Yep.
That like you said,
we've got a computer on our hip. Everyone has a video camera on their hip now.
Right. That too. Yeah, video camera, and it just doesn't make sense that these people, the fact that they were swiped, somebody came and cleaned house.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Yeah, that's what the evidence shows when it's especially these people are professionals. Okay, these people are very intelligent. They're professionals. They know what to do. They know how to tie their shoes and chew gum at the same time,
and they know how to mix it up. Let's have some of them get shot, and some of them end up dead in a lake, and
like
some
Jason
of them,
Thomas,
that's like a plane crash, and some is a car crash. Stuff that they can all make it look like it's not all the same cause or something for one thing.
It's believable and
they're
random
scary
all at the same time.
And I think all this push from Congress and from the president to try and force disclosure or get us closer to disclosure, we think it's freaking out this legacy program people to the point where they're kind of closing ranks and murdering the ones that they don't trust. The insiders that they don't trust to keep quiet.
I think they're sending a message, quite frankly, what I see. They're sending a message that
to other whistleblowers,
they're sending a message saying that we can pretty much do this with impunity and we can get away with it. If we can swipe somebody during broad daylight on a trail in the mountains of Los Angeles with people there just 30 feet away, if we can take that person and they're gone. Okay, it doesn't matter if there are people there. They can just basically open a portal, probably, and take the person and just basically almost like beam them up, Scotty.
Yeah,
almost like that. I mean, it's not some foreign entity that's coming there swiping these people. It's ridiculous. The technology is too far advanced. Okay.
Yeah. So we think that's what's happening with that they're closing ranks, and that's important news for people to hear and to know. You know that. As we keep pushing harder and harder for disclosure, we're going to see more and more crazy behavior out of the legacy program, more panic behavior, more almost like you force an animal into a corner, they become even more dangerous, I think. And that's kind of what I mean.
Fear. We it's like it's fear fractious. It's not just I'm not just angry. I'm fearfully fractious. They'll bite, scratch, lunge at you with just because they're scared. I can't. But in today's day and age, there's so much people, if they see a video online, they're like, oh, it's a deep fake. If they see a picture online, they're like, oh, it's been modified. So they can literally get away with anything because everyone else
I
is
know,
gonna
it's
say
so ironic that in this age where everyone has a video camera in their pocket, we have reached a point where the fakes are so good that we can't trust any of those videos anymore. It's kind of, I find it very ironic.
You know the whole Greek myth of Loki and that stuff. You know, the trickster. It's like we get technology, and there's a lot of Loki and a lot of us. You know,
Yeah, they like
we like to
tricking
play
each other,
tricks.
yeah.
It's like, that's very primate. You know, playing tricks. You know, or being that kind of stuff. You know,
It makes it harder for us ufologists to
we're shooting ourselves in the foot by being funny.
to research stuff. You know,
Right.
I talk about that in the paranormal world.
so as
because
you
now,
can see, since we met last time, a lot of stuff has happened.
yeah. I talk about that a lot in the paranormal world when it comes to trying to get significant evidence. Is same thing. Now you can fake anything. You can't trust the audio from anybody. You can't trust the video from anybody because you can make an AI video and now nothing looks real. It's completely set back the research of the field to back almost to where we started because you can't trust any of it. You basically have to have a person standing in the room looking at a paranormal thing happening and say, do you believe it now? Like, it's the only way we're going to get people to believe in anything.
There are types of software that you can purchase and run videos through to see if there have been any editing or tampering to them or effects done to them.
Yeah,
but short of having that kind of software and running everything on Instagram through it,
every single thing,
you're right. You just what's real or not real, It's it is very frustrating, I must say.
It really is. And it's like just trying to obtain significant evidence that you can pass to the next person or, write in a text, like the book, in a form. So you're like, so-and-so's research and so-and-so's research. It's impossible for people to believe. And I think the intelligence level has dropped in daily human.
And the government may be helping to perpetrate that too. It's like
they don't
getting
help
us to trust what we see. Can't trust your own eyes anymore, kind of thing.
The great Chinese author Sun Tzu, who wrote about 3,000 years ago, The Art of War, he said that if you want to rule for 1,000 years, just keep the population's bellies fed and keep your hands busy, and you'll rule for 1,000 years. So they don't want us particularly necessarily too smart, because it's harder to manage people that really can think independently. They'd rather have a bunch of people that this is what you do, this is what you do now, and don't think independently.
And didn't the Romans adopt it with bread and circuses? They called it. As long as you give them bread and entertainment at the Coliseum, you can rule forever or whatever they thought.
Yeah.
I have there's a question from one of our viewers. Because speaking about what we just talked about, it's over on Instagram, so it's not showing up over here. So from The Great Weird Outdoors, they said, I wonder if folks back in the 50s thought everything could be faked, and we are just dealing with our modern version of that. That's what they said. What do you think?
Well, there were a lot of things being faked in the 50s, and some of those things have been tested by modern techniques, like some of the famous UFO pictures, and like some of them truly were hubcaps, and some were definitely were easy, with our modern technology, easy to debunk. But there are still a few that were real, that they've tried every way to debunk them, and they were definitely something that we did not have that technology at the time.
Well, it's gotten even worse now.
I think so too. I saw that another
CGI is
after that
ridiculous good now.
Yeah. So Jeremy, thank you very much for the question. I wanted to make sure I said thank you before we moved on that. So there we go. That's their thought. But I feel like
in
back
the 50s,
then though,
they could cut out stuff and do like film effects that way.
Yeah.
Or,
and people would believe it.
Or things, but they were kind of crude, and you could almost always spot the hard edge, or the
something wrong with. And now we can.
Right.
I think that's to that, I mean, back then I see even if you talk about scary movies, horror movies, the basic things,
Yeah.
something like The Blob. You're like, that looks totally like they're pushing jelly through the vents.
Right.
But back then it scared the bejesus out of people.
Yeah.
Totally different time
Yeah, it did.
frame. Same with movies about galactic wars and things like that. Oh my God, they thought they were going to get destroyed. It's wild.
It's almost like we're being desensitized to the whole alien thing too.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course.
I see it in
I think so.
our culture.
Yeah.
And
just
maybe that's
keep
because
ramping
they're
it up.
worried that eventually disclosure will happen, and maybe if we kind of desensitize people to the whole alien
They'll be
thing,
like,
they
"Eh."
won't freak out quite so bad when disclosure does finally come along.
Yeah.
If it ever does.
Well, I think it's a test. I think you're right. The hubby and I were talking about that. It's like the more, as soon as they started having in modern day pilots coming forward and saying that they saw things while they were in the skies, it was like a test
Yep.
to see, are people going to freak out and lose their mind? And there was literally like no response to it. People were like, it's aliens, bring it on. I couldn't believe that. It's almost just like it was a little seasoning, a little turn up of the dial to see how society cared, and nobody cared at all. Did you hear what
the
they said?
desensitizing has worked,
It has
Yeah,
worked. It totally has worked.
We again we keep on using the word alien, but we really call them cousins. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Right,
the
I
reason
remember
is because
that.
we want to separate ourselves from like star seeds that think that we're part of a federation, and that's another very convenient psychological tool. We grew up with Star Trek. We grew up with 50s movies and 40s movies and Flash Gordon and all this stuff. Star Wars, Star Trek. Okay, so we're being desensitized, and also it's very convenient that we're part of a federation. What would be the bigger secret would be that we're doing this to ourselves. That advanced versions of us that went subsurface 12,850 years ago, that we are actually doing it, and we're harvesting ourselves for genetic material, because he who controls the genetics of a planet controls the planet. Okay.
Well, they've been living underground, we think, since the Younger Dryas comet, and that's almost 13,000 years ago. So we think they've mutated away from us all this time and are slowly, we think that's what the whole breeding thing is all about. Their weird alien hybrid breeding program. It's because that they're being forced to steal DNA from the surface, because I think they're becoming less and less viable.
Oh yeah. Also, the recent discoveries too with Göbekli Tepe and the Anatolian Plateau in Turkey. They found 13 of them, and they've had to put it into this AI computer system called Grok. It's very advanced. It's the most advanced computer system ever used, and it puts together the 4 different disciplines of astronomy, archaeology. They fed all the information from 30 years of research on the tepes, and what they came up with, that these were all built right after the Great Flood. These are all built about 1,000 years after the comet impact of 12,850 years ago. They can date them, and they found that the older building was the best building. They are like within like 0.4 degrees of perfection. Okay, and it's a timekeeping. It's also mapping out the actual event when it happened, future events that are going to happen. It's not just all the animals that are on there. They're all basically, what they do, represent the constallations. They're not representing the animals that were there, like indigenous to the
Noah's
area.
Ark or something. Yeah.
It's basically representative of the constellations and where the constellations were 11,000 years ago. So this is they said that the Great Flood, that the surface would be almost uninhabitable for about 1,000 years after the comet impact, because it wasn't just one impact. There were subsequent impacts that happened after that. So the thing is, they came back to the surface about 1,000 years after the comet impact, and they made these tepes as like a repository. They call it a library. It's a repository of knowledge, and also like a warning, and also to a scientific, being able to map out like when these recurring like lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, when comets come by, and things such as that, and possible like droughts or other meteorological events. So now with the advancement of this grok, they've never been able to do that before. Now when they put all of them together, this computer AI is actually saying that these things were not done as just as an art project. They weren't done by nomadic people that got together once in a while. The tolerances and the perfection shows machines were used to make these. It's amazing. If you get to see this stuff on the truth about Göbekli Tepe, again, it shows that yes, we did go subsurface.
Did you ever
and we were advanced.
Did you ever hear the story of King Yima, Noel?
I don't think so. That doesn't sound anything like, doesn't come to my head.
No. Not many people know about it.
It's an ancient story out of the Iraq region.
The Zoroastrians.
The Zoroastrians from thousands of years ago. They were one of the first monotheistic religions, and we think they worshipped Enki, and one of his avatars, which was called Ahura Mazda, right? So Ahura Mazda goes to King Yima and says, you have to build an underground city because there's a horrible winter coming like nothing you've ever seen before. And so King Yima is instructed to build this underground city. We think it's the city called Derinkuyu in the center of the Anatolian Plateau in the center of Turkey, just 300 miles away from Göbekli Tepe. So we think 20,000 or so people were ensconced inside Derinkuyu to survive the Great Flood. And then after surviving it, they emerged. And then the Anatolian Plateau where they were is not very hospitable. We think they just went 300 miles southeast to where Göbekli Tepe is now. And that's the people that arrived there. So they kept their technology intact because they survived the Great Flood without being thrown back into the Stone Age, And
right, every single time.
They then built their technology into these structures.
Yeah. They're like 200 to 300 miles inland from the ocean too. They're at about 4,300 foot elevation and about 4,700 foot elevation and about 300 miles from the ocean.
So we think that they would have been from the tsunami.
They would have been far enough inland and high enough to be able to survive the tsunami,
but not the long winter afterwards.
But not the winter, no. Yeah.
So they still needed to stay underground for a while because, yeah.
Oh,
you survive this crazy flood and then the cold takes you. Like,
yep,
that's horrible.
Yeah.
And they had like stables on the top level. They had animals they took with them, and they had fodder.
There's 13. It's 13 levels deep. Derinkuyu. It's not the only city they found too.
They're
connected
with each
like
other
every 15 to 20 miles. There's another city that you can actually go down this pathway. But they made them about the same distance that a horse could walk comfortably in a day. So they're all 20 miles apart,
and they're connected through underground tunnels to each other, one another. Yeah,
right.
So
pretty amazing.
There's more than one of them.
Interesting. Right. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how you keep all this information in your head.
I know it's and this has all been like since we wrote the book, all this stuff has come out.
Not Derinkuyu.
Not Derinkuyu, but yeah. But this is our theory connecting Derinkuyu to Göbekli Tepe and how it connects to them.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, nobody else is connecting King Yima's story with the Göbekli Tepeans, but we think it
makes sense.
It is. Yeah, that's what happened.
Now, so you mentioned your book again, so I want to make sure I talk about it because we have some more followers in here. So this is the book that we've talked about. This is
we have a second edition of it that came out. It's the same name though, in the same location.
Our second edition has a forward. Our second edition has a forward by Karen Wilkinson.
Yeah, we got
fellow
Karen,
author, and she's the author of Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. She is an abductee. Yeah.
And the new edition has some of the latest news, like that we've just been talking about. We added to the new second edition.
And also, our book is out, just came out in Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish.
Finally, it got published in Spanish. Finally.
Yay.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I have I still have the link to the website is there too, so that you guys, if you're wanting to get a copy of this, if you're interested more about what we've been chatting about, because I'm sure the second edition, everything's probably still all on the website, right? And through Amazon and everything like that.
Yeah.
Still
our
there.
website is theyarebook.com.
Yep.
And
That's in
we're on
the
Instagram
notes.
too at leslie.shaw.author. And if
Yep.
you have any questions, feel free to direct message us on our
Mhm.
Instagram.
Perfect. And I've put all that in the show notes. That's already in there. So whoever's clicking around, or if you're watching this, you can just scroll down and it can take you right to them, because they have all kinds of interesting stuff on their Instagram for just like daily information. If you need more other than crap in the news you don't want to hear about, this will actually keep your brain moving, which is important.
We think
Which I like.
the stuff with Bigfoot too backs up our theories that they're proving that Bigfoot, the Genome Project proved that Bigfoot is half human.
Right.
And they're actually starting a Dogman genome project.
Which I have
trying
no
to,
information
That will be
on that.
interesting.
yeah, that's supposedly just getting started. Exactly, that'd be fascinating too. But we think the aliens are.
Our
we know
cousins.
they're cousins. We know they're stealing our DNA, and why not make these weird cryptids if you want to? Why not make a dog
Right.
man if you need a dog man, or a Bigfoot if you need a Bigfoot?
Mhm.
So,
If
and
you
that
have-
would explain
if you
why
have-
they're half human.
If you have the power, it's just basically it's just basically sky's the limit as far as this. Your imagination is the
Right.
the muffler on that situation.
I like that analogy. Haven't never used that, the muffler. Well, guys, we've been chit-chatting. I know we go for, 45 minutes to an hour. We're not necessarily limited by anything, but I wanted to make sure that we covered where they can find you, where they can find your book, the new edition. And if they hablo español, the book is there as well. So very, very cool. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. I'm glad you guys were like, hey, I want to talk some more, because this was another fascinating time to chit chat about all the things happening in the world. Oh, I think I froze. There you are. I got you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, definitely.
And we really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much.
We had a little
I
bit
had
of
a
robot
great
talk there
time.
for a second,
Yeah, that's all right. I got you now, though. So, everybody, thanks again for joining us here on Creepy Confidential After Dark, although technically not after dark. Yes, we do. Can I do that? I can do the wave. So, catch us next time.
Oh, by the way,
here
this right
on another
here
episode.
is the sarcastic. This was the sarcastic of Vulcan Sword.
Okay. Well, here.
That's like flipping them off, Stephen. That's really offensive.
Yeah, this here. And
I just flipped
this is
them
the
off.
sarcastic
You didn't
one.
even tell me. Oh my gosh.
It's the sarcastic one.
All right.
That's the sarcastic.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll catch you next
Bye,
time
dear.
right here
Thank you.
on Creepy Confidential.
Okay.
You guys just hang out just for a second. We'll see
Okay,
everybody
sure.
soon.
Got it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.